Hi guys, it's Stuart from Remax here. I hope you're all well today. And I'm here today with Justin Miller, Principal and Licensee of the office here at Remax Regency. And we're going to have a bit of a discussion today about the effects of COVID-19 on the 4213 property market. I know you read lots in the newspapers, see lots on the news, and no doubt get your mailboxes absolutely hammered with flyers, but we're going to really talk about the reality of it today.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting, Stu. I think before COVID happened, when it actually first went down, nobody expected to have the result or the effect that it did on the property market. I think we were all sitting back a bit worried about where it was going. I remember you were talking to some of the clients saying, look, we just don't know what's happening, just hold off a bit. But I'm sure that's not the conversation you're having at the moment.
No, it's very different now. And when you do look back to that period of our first lockdown, for me, after working in the area for 15 years, that was the worst time ever you could sell. I think there was just so much uncertainty about how long it was going to go on for, and actually how serious it was going to be as well. So what we've, a few changes we've seen since COVID started that have really contributed, I suppose, to the overall market now. And one of the most important ones, probably, Justin, would be the interest rates. I mean, I believe now probably you can get probably a 1.9% fixed rate over a period of time, which is just historically low, and it means that money is very cheap now.
Yeah, I think the other side of that is as well is that if a bank is fixing a rate for 4 to 5 years, they wouldn't expect the rates to go up too much in that period of time. So Absolutely. I think that from an interest rate point of view, I think we're in a good place at the moment for people wanting to buy, and I guess the cost of money.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something else that's really changed as well, is the stock levels, so the amount of properties that are on the market. Now remember, when I started in real estate back in 2008 and probably right up until 2014, there were 25 or 26 pages of properties in 4213.
Wow.
As of today, there are barely 5.
Wow.
So there are really a limited supply for buyers to choose from, which just really plays havoc with that supply-demand scenario. It swings it into favour predominantly for the seller, obviously. So it's made a
I was listening to the radio, and they were talking about the unit market, especially the new unit market, and they were saying that it's the lowest levels that it's ever been. But I think that's across the board. And I think the fact that properties are going online at the moment and being sold as quickly as they are is leading us into that market where people know if they put online, it's going to be sold in a fairly quick manner. Absolutely. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get the best price.
Absolutely. So in with that, the stock levels being low, another really big fundamental has been the buyer numbers have been up. So it really does swing massively into that seller's market scenario there. People just wanting to move to upscale, and obviously interstate movement and statewide movement as well. And with that, the urgency for buyers has gone through the roof. And what we've seen on numerous occasions is sale prices of $100,000, even sometimes $250,000 above the asking price. So one property that really sticks in mind, a Mudgeeraba property, we priced it at offers above 1.1, which is where all the evidence told us. Anything north of there would have been a good result. We actually sold that for $1,335,000. That was $235,000 above the asking price because of this urgency. But
I think it's also important to add here is that, yes, we're dealing with huge buyer numbers, and that's obviously across the office. But I think what you need to keep in mind is that in all honesty, real estate agents are working the hardest that they've ever had to work in their real estate careers, because in the past you might be dealing with 1 or 2 offers, but at the moment, sometimes some of our agents are dealing with upwards of 30 offers on one property. So the amount of work that they're having to get through is just next level. And I think that it's an indication of where the market is. The demand is absolutely huge. And we've even spoken about some of your properties where you've had multiple offers, upwards of 10, 15 offers on one property.
Absolutely. And we'll see a graphic a bit later on that does depict the number of offers. I wanted to also touch on something that's really in our minds at the moment, is that interstate movement. People from the poor people down in Victoria and New South Wales, unfortunately, are still locked down. Just look at those numbers and really break them down. So, Justin, I looked at my last 50 sales here, which takes me back to the beginning of the year. And in fact, 33 of those 50 sales, so 66%, are still to local Gold Coast people, just moving suburb to suburb, or even within the suburb. So people moving from a smaller block in Mudgeeraba, perhaps, up to an acreage property. So that lifestyle change. I've had seven of those 50, so 14% have been to people moving from elsewhere in Queensland, and I would say predominantly Brisbane, moving south for the lifestyle, etc. So when we look at the interstate buyers, I've got 8 out of the last 50, so 16%.
Yeah.
So what does that mean in real terms? So I would say pre-COVID, for the last 15 years that I've been working in that area, I would suggest that probably I've been working at 5%. So there's definitely a good rise in interstate buyers, and they're the ones that predominantly, because of their buying sight unseen, etc., they're the ones that really put the urgency.
And that's actually an interesting comment that you're talking about the 15%, because a lot of agents at the moment are punting how many interstate buyers they have. But if you look at the pool of buyers, it's really only 15% of the buyers. So it's really not that big a number as what a lot of people are actually putting out there at the moment. And it's 3 times what it was maybe a couple of years ago, but it's still only 15% of where the market is.
And something worth talking about here as well, 2 overseas buyers. So 4% of my sales this year have been to overseas buyers who have moved specifically because the countries they have been in have been significantly affected by COVID. Yeah. And they've thought, well, we need to get back to home, safe haven, family, and a country that has predominantly dealt quite well with the unfolding COVID situation. Yeah. So times have changed. Times have changed for buyers, times have changed for sellers, times have changed for agents as well. And I think that's something that has enabled those interstate buyers to move, Justin, is the new acceptance of working from home.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that employees have proven that they can work from home. Employers have felt comfortable with the results that have been achieved. And that really has enabled those interstate movers to come up here, maybe visit once a month down there, but still hit their KPIs and do their business.
Well, I think that's exactly right. If your business and the job that you're doing is performance related, it's very easy to see how well you're actually doing. Yeah. And I think that having the flexibility of working at home is great for a lot of industries. And having the choice of being in a suburb apartment in Melbourne versus on the waterfront in the Gold Coast, it's actually quite an easy answer in relation to that. So there's definitely that movement. But even, I guess, locally for the local people, we keep thinking about these people coming from interstate, but even the fact that local people, their jobs have changed. They're beginning to work from home. They now are looking for homes that cater for that as well.
Absolutely. And I guess with that interstate and overseas move as well, something that we've never really seen before in any great predominance has been this sight unseen offers, and it's been an interesting dynamic. So people prepared to pay whatever without seeing a property, and these guys are not always interstate. Justin, about 3 weeks ago, some of you may have seen it as you drive up and down Benogian Road on the early part in Mudgeeraba. We had a property there, its offers above $1 million, and a lady came in and purchased that sight unseen because she couldn't make the open home from Varsity Lakes, the 2 suburbs away, still prepared because of the urgency to secure and grab a property. She was prepared to go sight unseen and secure a great, a lovely property, but the sellers were very happy.
It's quite interesting because we even had that conversation on that one property. I've got friends that were looking to buy, and one of your properties came online and it had literally been on for 4 hours. And they phoned me and they said, "Oh, Stuart Legg's got this property on. We want to try and get through it." So I phoned you and I said, "I've got these buyers, they're interested," and you said it's sold. I said, "It's only been online for 4 hours." And your comment to me was that buyer was in Carrara.
That's exactly right, and it was online for 4 hours. It went up, and they just went in, put a very attractive offer into the seller, and they were very happy to take that as a cash offer, great terms and conditions, and literally 4 hours. So that's the urgency in the market.
In terms of terms and conditions, I think that's a very important part of the conversation we're having at the moment. Because there's so little stock, a lot of people are sort of waiting and saying, well, we need to buy first before we sell. And although that, I guess, seems like it's the right way, it's probably better to have your property sold and done when it comes to the conditions, because if you're competing against 15 other people, being able to say, my place is sold and we're ready to go, it has a huge impact on what those sellers
look, and a lot of the times when you get 15 offers, maybe 3 of those are cash offers. So even if you're subject to finance, it can be a tough ask to actually get yourself top of that.
Are you finding any people sort of potentially waiving finance even though they still need to get finance?
Yeah, absolutely. That has happened. Their broker has been that confident in in doing that.
Wow.
That they have waived finance and gone forward. We've had to also adapt how we do things as well to try to facilitate these sight unseen offers to our interstate and overseas buyers as well. And something that we've always been for the last few years is really on top of this Matterport technology. A lot of agencies have taken it on board recently, but it's something that we've really had our hand firmly on the pulse with this one for a few years now. And the ability to really look inside a house and really to engage with a house on a pretty pretty detailed level here, so you can really walk through the whole house. And this really does, in my experience with these sight unseen offers, this has been a fantastic tool to make people comfortable. So that's the Matterport. And also, Justin, as well, we've got the virtual inspections. So we regularly now, 3-4 times a week, are doing video calls across WhatsApp, FaceTime, and Home Pass Live as well, which is a real estate specific tool for that as well. So I think I've now, since COVID began, I've now sold 8 properties through Matterport or WhatsApp or FaceTime. So and in my previous 14 years of real estate, I only did it twice. So there's a significant upswing in that sort of mentality.
Yeah, and I think having a brand or a real estate agency that understands the technology and embraces the technology plays a big part in it, because this has actually become part of our process at Remax Regency in how we actually sell our properties. It's not something that we've added onto, it's just become part and parcel of the process.
And I think critically as well that we didn't have to get into COVID and learn it. We already knew the skills, which was
just an interesting statistic is that we've been doing Matterport so long that I think we've done about 2,500 scans of properties now. So we've got a database of properties there that's extensive.
Something else that's changed, Justin, is a massive elevation in what they call off-market sales, and there's probably a divided camp there in terms of whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. I certainly have my views on that. They can be easy for a seller, can't they? No open homes, an agent brings on one buyer, no advertising, happy days, and it's all very simple. But I think the question that I ask is, do you always find the best buyer that way? And every seller wants the best buyer, the one that's going to give them strong terms and conditions and ultimately the most money. And I wonder sometimes if just by having one buyer you actually know that you've had a big enough section. Yeah,
well, they've always said in our real estate industry that you can't sell a secret.
Yeah.
And I think that there are very specialised conditions or specific conditions under which you would sell off market, if that's specifically what the vendor wants. But I think that the buzzword at the moment with a lot of real estate agents trying to generate business is, oh, we'll sell it off market for you. We've got the buyers. Well, that's great if you've got the buyers. Generally, those are the same buyers that every other real estate agent has as well. But the fact is, you want to get the best exposure for your property, and that obviously comes down to the presentation and the promotion.
Absolutely. So I think I looked at the last 6 properties I've sold here, and they range between 6 and 17 offers for all of those. So you have a really good snapshot of the market, and you get to know who your premium buyer is. And I'm not sure you get that by talking to one buyer only. So I think that my advice in the interest of my seller is always to go to market. Just in case there's someone in Sydney or Melbourne that has just decided today they've had enough of lockdown and they want to move up. And so I think that's a critical part. So also, if I look at my last 10 sales as well, the buyers that have been on or off of my database, only 4 of those sales I've already known the buyer. So 6 sales has been a new buyer coming to me for the first time. Wow. So by selling off my database, I've technically only got a 40% chance of getting the best result.
That's right.
So I think as a seller, you want to have your foot in that whole
Well, that's it. You want to open it up to everyone. And I think that's where you generate your best price in terms of where the market is. You have to open that property up to the market. We've had a few off-market sales, but they've been specific where the vendor has not wanted to go to market. They just want to get the deal done. And they're probably happy to take a slightly lower price, and they're probably just to get it facilitated done. And if that's the case, we'll always facilitate that because they're the client. But ultimately, our job is there to get them the most that we possibly can. And looking at those numbers around the amount of offers, you can see there's extensive competition out in the market at the moment.
So I guess this is the big question, and we need a crystal ball to answer it. What now for the future? personally, I believe that the Gold Coast now is a well-established destination. I think in the GFC, which is probably the other significant event of our time to the real estate market, we were a fairly small town then. We are very well established now. There's lots of development, lots of reasons to come here, and people can work from here now.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be much more stable going forwards. I think there's going to be consistent interstate flow as well, and with interest rates being low for the foreseeable future, short to mid-term, I think we're going to stay strong.
Yeah, and I think that the demand is always going to be there. There's definitely an undersupply of houses on the Gold Coast with the amount of people coming in, and it's interesting because you can see the amount of money that's been pumped into infrastructure as well. So I guess they can see that this is going to be a growth area, and it always has been a growth area. But I think with COVID and the effects that it's had, it's going to drive that.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe over the next couple of years we'll see more people moving interstate. Some people just don't have the option to do it right now.
Yeah.
But I think that the market is going to be pretty stable for the next 2 to 3 years, especially with, like you say, the interest rates. But I guess also the fact that the Gold Coast has sort of tracked behind a lot of the major suburbs or major cities as well. And now, because it's almost becoming a major city, it's beginning to catch up with those.
Absolutely agree.
Someone asked me the other day, what's the market like at the moment? And the standard response is, well, it depends. But the way that I explain it is that 2 years ago, the speed of the Gold Coast market was about 100 kilometres an hour.
Yep.
Then COVID hits and we went to about 60 for a little bit. And then we went to 300.
Yes.
And now we've sort of come back to maybe 200, and people are saying, what's the market like? And because we were at that 300 level, we're now saying, oh yeah, it's slowed down a bit, but it actually still so much faster than what it was before. If I look at the numbers on the board in the office, we're still doing 3 times what we were this time last year.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
It's a great time. If you've got a property that's going to go into market, this is probably the best time to get it on.
It is, yeah.
But at the same time, the process still has to be right. There are a lot of agents out there that are, new to the industry, and they'll sell the property for 1%. Well, that's all very well, but if you've got an agent that gets you 30 or 40 grand more, the 1% is actually irrelevant.
Yeah, it's irrelevant. So guys, in a nutshell, the market's strong and probably will be for a while. It's been an interesting 18 months, and I thought that you might like to just hear it today from us guys. But any questions, just reach out. Our details will be on this post. Thanks so much.